Okay, hi.
Hi, Ashok.
Anindya.
How's life?
Good to, life is good. How is
Good.
your life going
Yeah,
on?
it's been hectic.
As always.
Going around India
You are the man
few times.
in need at this point of time. Okay, so welcome you all. We are back again with another, episode of sharing our thoughts on a new technology, which is, a lot of people are talking about in cyber security space. So, so without wasting time, Anindya, I mean, this was pending for quite some time, and wanted to know from you the very first thing. What is OT? Operational technology, which everybody is aware of. What exactly it is?
Well, to start with, so operational technology as OT is the technology which exists on the shop floor, the real world,
Okay.
where manufacturing process takes place, distribution process takes place, different industries. So, for example, if you go to an FMCG,
Okay.
there are different things being manufactured. Okay, in that manufacturing process, there is a real world where the manufacturing is being done, and there's a control process. So, this all included are the components of OT.
Okay. So can you give me some example, like so that people can understand better? Man, these are still, I would assume, is
Yeah.
more of a bookish
So
understanding.
you're right. So I'll just probably start with some of examples. Okay.
Right.
So if you go to one of the industries that we have been working on is the paper producing industry. Okay.
Okay.
So in the paper producing industry, if you look at the process which happens, is that the raw materials are coming in, right? Which is the pulp.
Okay.
So they will have a pulp machine where the pulp is getting processed. Okay. Now the pulp is getting processed through physical machines, right? So
Right.
you have a boiler and you have paper machine in which the raw materials, which are the woods, okay,
Right.
which are coming in and getting processed.
Right.
So this is the physical unit.
Right.
Now in OT terminology, we talk about it as the level 0, where the actual machines are working. Now those machines,
Right.
okay, in the paper industry there might be a paper machine, okay, or in the pulp industry it will be a pulp machine, pulp processing machine.
Right.
In the FMCG industry there will be something called maker machines.
Right.
Okay? So there are different kinds of machines. Now these machines are there in the level 0, which works on electrical signal.
Okay. Okay.
Now these electrical signals were traditionally being controlled by voltages.
Right. Right.
Now, when we moved into the automation sector, or rather, I'll say when it got automated, there were components which were introduced as PLCs,
Right.
programmable logic controllers.
Correct.
Okay, those PLCs is where you program in a certain way so that those machines can be controlled.
Correct. So there is certain way those machines are expected to work.
Yes.
And they are more or less hard coded in some kind of the
Yes.
machines, and
So
they were able to use
correct.
and
So
control.
Absolutely. So these PLCs, as you know, there you have a language in which you do the programming of the PLCs.
Right.
And those PLCs on the other side will have the electrical signals going back to these machines.
Right.
And
able to-
also it will go back to different motors which will be there. Okay.
Right,
So the
right.
motors are controlled through drives.
Correct.
So the PLCs are at the heart, which are controlling these drives and these machines for taking the electrical signals. Okay?
Right, and then you control the temperature, the speed,
The
of a
speed
machine and everything else.
and then where do you cut off the communication from one machine to the other machine? For example, when the pulp machine is functioning, there are different functions inside the pulp machine itself.
Right.
So when you stop somewhere and the other one you go to, if you go to a shop floor today in the advanced industries, you will hardly find anybody on the shop floor because of the different temperatures which are there, different the working conditions which are there.
Right.
So it is totally automated the way it is functioning. Okay. So these PLCs which are there, coming back to the level 0 is the machines, level 1 is the PLCs, and then those are again controlled through what you call the SCADA.
Okay.
Okay. So SCADA is a monitoring division which is basically monitoring the function of these and acquiring data, which is through monitoring, data acquisition, and they're also controlling these PLCs.
Okay.
So it's a centralized control. So these are the level 3 divisions. Now there will be different types of communication between each other. We'll probably talk about it, but the fundamentality is that it's a isolated world which is there in OT.
Right.
And this level 0, level 1 and level 2 and level 3
Right.
are working with each other.
Very nice, excellent, excellent. So as we can, as I can understand, the world of OT is slightly like different than the IT world, right?
Yeah.
You have TCP/IP, you have a lot of protocols, all those popular
in IT,
ports and stuff like that. How is it in the OT world?
So for example, if I ask about IT to you,
Right.
I'll ask you, name the set of protocols in
Right.
IT. You can answer that?
Correct. I mean the popular DNS, HTTP, HTTPS,
correct.
stuff like that.
Exactly.
You have,
And they're working on TCP/IP.
Absolutely,
they're
yeah.
on UDP.
so
and
that's what, yeah, I mean that's
standard connectivity, Ethernet.
and people
and
working in our domain, of course, I mean they have no right to be in the industry if they do not know all these things. Yeah.
So if you look at the OT industry, the main challenge or the main difference is that the OT industry happens with availability first. So in security we have something called CIA, right?
Right.
Confidentiality, integrity and availability.
Correct.
It is AIC in OT.
Okay.
So availability first.
Right.
So for availability first, they have a very deterministic network. Okay, so they have a different set of protocols. For example, the different vendors have their proprietary protocols. So for example, Siemens will have a different set of protocols.
Okay.
Okay. So the protocols, for example, I will name a few protocols like Profibus.
Okay.
For example, EtherCAT.
Yeah, I mean, these are new
S7.
things. Yeah.
So these are protocols and the connectivity as well. So
Okay.
they have serial connectivities. Okay. Again, there will be Ethernet connectivities, but they are working not in Ethernet, but they are working on EtherCAT.
Okay.
For example, Profibus is a protocol which was there in the industry for a long time, but now it is evolved into Profinet, so that
Okay.
you can connect each other.
Right.
But the protocols are not TCP/IP.
Correct. Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's a
that-
mixture, and it is extremely, I will not say very complex, but it is extremely diverse in the way one plant functions. Okay,
Right.
you will have some of the segment which are happening in Profibus and serial connectivity. Somewhere you will see a different protocol happening because different OEMs come together
Right.
and put together these networks. And you will also have IT components inside that, right?
Right.
You have the SCADA servers, which will be sitting on actually Windows or Linux environments.
Right.
Okay.
And then that's where the user will communicate to those.
Yes.
Okay.
So users will be there in something called workstations.
Right.
Okay. They have engineering workstations. They have HMIs, which is the human to machine interface. So all these, I'm just trying to crunch it up into a lot of things. But if you go to them and you see, it's a different world existing. And the fundamental of this world is that it is availability first, and you have to get into the mindset when you are talking about OT in
Okay.
this diverse environment.
Right. So, okay, that's really good, Anindya. So now let's talk about the thing for which we wanted to have this discussion is now the journey is happening between the lines between OT and IT is getting blurred in terms of connectivity perspective. So IT is connecting to OT because of certain business needs. So what do
Yes.
you see as a business requirement? Why those who will not follow this IT and OT connectivity, what are they going to miss if they don't converge these two technologies?
So when we did this, the journey that we have been doing for the last couple of years,
Right.
We see a huge transition happening when this OT was an air gap network,
Right.
and it was happening through OT engineers. So people who are involved, they will understand that the connectivity part and the way you function was kept inside OT, and there are reasons for that they were not mixed up into IT. And what is happening now is that analytics is driving a lot of the factors of improving the OT functions. For example, you are having this IoT, right? The
Right.
world is talking about IoT, but here we are talking about IIoT.
Okay.
IoT inside OT. So OT is the factory shop floor, and you have IoT giving the power for you to bring down your cost and improve your productivity. Okay. So to be specific, the amount of computing power that you need to analyze data and give feedback for your process movement cannot be done inside the OT frame.
Okay, so now Anindya, so when IT is obviously going to meet OT, there will be cybersecurity challenges for sure, right? So what are the major challenges which you see and which you have experienced, which one has to be careful about before we embarking on this journey?
So the main challenge when you look at OT is that it's as I probably mentioned, that it's an availability first kind of concept.
Right.
So you cannot actually put the factors by which we control IT security directly into OT. So you cannot go and patch the machines, because there are a lot of legacy systems and they depend on each other. For example, when there is a function happening in one of the ABB systems and the drives are from Siemens, okay, they are both talking to each other on a hardware level, hardwire level, and PLC level, and there are different protocols which are being exchanged between each other. So if you want to patch one system, you don't know the effect which will have, and it is an availability first. So
Right.
generally there is no patching which takes place, even in the Windows systems, even in the PLCs.
So if you go to factories, if it's safe to assume that they generally don't
Yes.
update because it's a air gap, very happy with whatever they are doing, they don't want to touch all those stuff for
And if you
various
go with a
reasons.
cyber security solution that you have to patch everything, doesn't work.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two is that if you go with a solution that you have to put endpoint security controls.
Right. So
in
that's
your
also very
antivirus
difficult to sell.
scanning,
Yeah.
it hampers with the function, and it was not meant for that, because there are so many legacy things which are there.
Right.
They have different disparate functions. That doesn't even work inside
Right.
that. The third thing is that if you go and say that okay, you put sub-segmentation.
Right.
Okay, this communication will go through firewall, that will go through firewall. It doesn't work really, because
Right.
it's availability first. You have Profibus protocol working in one segment, S7 working in another segment. You have serials, you have daisy chain connections, you have similar IP addresses inside the entire
Yeah.
factory. So our concept in IT is
Correct. So you also talking about the connectors, right? You said in IT world connectors are very rare and people generally don't like.
yes.
But if you go to OT is
You can
it's
suddenly see
everywhere.
suddenly Profibus being changed into Profinet, and you have S7, and then that is getting transformed, and you have converters here, there, controller units. So it's a pretty, I will not say complex, but you have to really
It's
understand.
a different way of
disparate way of working.
dealing with the things like, and then cyber security obviously, like in IT, maximum what can happen to you, something goes wrong is the reputation and you lose the money and something like that. But in terms of OT, right, I mean the factory environment,
Yes.
imagine if some hardware or some facility goes wrong and it can have a life-threatening kind of consequences. So which makes it
Yes.
extra sensitive when you deal with that kind of environment.
And
right?
believe
That's
you
why-
me, the OT teams are more aware about the threats
Yeah.
of this.
Okay.
So they are really aware, but they are looking at solutions which are not going to be intrusive into the way OT functions.
Right.
The OT environment is quite process control. Okay. So they have processes in place,
Right.
controls in place, so that this kind of dangers don't play. But when it converges from IT OT,
Mhm.
your surface area, which is exposed to the IT world, then you really need to take care.
Right. So, what is the better approach based on your experience? We're dealing with the different set of the people who are having a different experience and people from IT going and meeting them.
Yes.
What's the right
So I
approach
think
to
we
deal
need to
with
be
that?
sensitive to the way OT functions.
Right.
And the first point, they need to really go and understand, look at their setup, look at their data flow.
Right.
And the two-pronged solution that I have seen which works in OT,
Right.
and by the virtue of the fact that we are really doing it,
Right.
through IT devices, we are actually controlling the OT security. We are actually deployed a few, and the first thing that is there is that inside the shop floor, where the OT is functioning, you need to take a monitoring-based approach.
Right.
Okay, you need to really put devices and sensors which can give you a security awareness. We call it anomaly detection.
Right.
It's very similar to the network behavior analysis that we have
Right.
done in IT. So you need to do a OT protocol behavior analysis. You really understand, you make a graph, you make a baseline. I'm just going fast, but yeah, this is on a very high level. You have to make a baseline, you have to understand the data flow. Then any deviation from that becomes your Bible of functioning of security. That is the only way you understand.
Right.
For example, if an engineering workstation is supposed to send a data with defined parameters, okay, you should be able to observe that. Anything which is happening above that parameter,
Right.
and before that, there is a scanning which is happening, you can relate to a security, right? We from the IT security world, we know how to correlate to security incidents and make that something is happening.
Right. So the deviation in OT environment is not as vast as in IT at this point of time.
Yes.
Is what it is. So it is very easy to
Correct.
find out what is abnormal.
Great.
At this
So
point of
I
time.
think you absolutely hit the nail. Is a very process oriented technique. You just don't make changes like you put HTTP server, you put another thing.
Right.
And all those
Yeah, in
things.
IT
it's
we
a
have
very
this big
standard
challenge,
word.
yes.
You need to understand that.
And everybody respects that in OT
Right.
industry.
The
Right?
behavior change from that is well. So that's the first part,
Right.
which is basically monitoring inside the OT. When OT and IT convergence is taking place, you need to be aware about the SCADA protocols,
Right.
the OT protocols which are taking place, and need to inspect that when OT is watching IT. For example, if there's a PLC, it's a very sensitive PLC which is sending out probably commands to the boiler or something which is any parameters being passed, wrong parameters will pass is a problem. So the PLC, if you have a connectivity from outside due to whatever perspective, so you really want to break it up. But even if you have that, you need to be able to inspect the commands which are coming from outside to your PLC.
Right, because
so you can basically see a write command, a read command, and it is giving a read command, it's fine. If it is a write command, there is a problem. And then you monitor that. So segmentation should happen with devices which is SCADA aware, and that device should be able to virtually patch those SCADA devices. We have this virtual patching concept. So you need to virtually patch. So essentially you need to have a SCADA aware security convergence device. You need to virtually patch those, and inside that you need to have a anomaly detection kind of an environment where you baseline the SCADA software. If you are able to do that, it is easier said than done. But if you are able to do that and have a handshake between the OT team and the IT team, and awareness creation inside for the OT team from a cybersecurity vector and surface area kind of a thing.
Right.
What is the surface area of attack? We are conversant with this, right?
Right.
Once you make the OT team aware about that,
एसी का वो कहाँ रखा है?
हमने एक वीडियो रिकॉर्ड करा है
एक मिनट. So when you have that convergence between these two, and then you kind of put them together. You know?
So Anindya, that's excellent. Like, so tell me, like in cybersecurity IT world, we know protocols and products like we work with Checkpoint and other vendors like Cisco, FortiGate, PAN, and everybody else. Like similar kind of vendors are also there.
Yes,
in
yes.
OT, right? So what are the popular vendors?
Large vendors are like Rockwell, ABB, and Siemens, and you need to understand their way of working.
So they make the products which
They are
you need to understand
Yeah.
and then apply.
Yes. You need to understand their way of working. They will have a standard set of designs. Like ABB has, like they will have some OEMs have a plant network and a control network. Okay. And when you are talking about anomaly detection, you need to know which switch or which plant portion you are trying to get the data from.
True.
So, and when you go to another, similar factory, similar unit, but OEM is different. The way of functioning is different. So you need to study that and put it all together.
Very nice, good. So before we wind up, Anindya, one last question which will be like many of our viewers would be interested in is so suppose there are a customer or there is somebody who is just starting this journey from IT and OT. So what are the few things, important things which you want to share with them they should be careful about or they should be looking into before they start the journey?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to have an interview with the OT team.
Okay.
We should not stop at the IT. Take the help of IT. Go and interview with the OT team. Understand the data flow. Okay. Have a process flow. Look at the diagrams. You will not have one diagram.
Okay.
You have different OEMs putting together different diagrams.
Right.
Okay. Try to understand the networking and try to understand their need for convergence.
Right.
So then you understand the point of convergence, point of segregation, and point of monitoring.
Right.
And then you make awareness a big criteria for this implementation, because if you don't make the team who is managing the show aware,
Right.
it will not work.
Right.
So understand data flow, make the segmentation, understand where the convergence is taking place, and focus on awareness so that it is taken forward and sustained.
Right. That's excellent. Okay. Nice, Anindya. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
It was always pleasure talking to you, and we will come back with our next episode, maybe discussing some new stuff which is going on. And those who would be interested in knowing more about this OT security and how are we trying to do that, definitely they can get in touch with us. And Anindya himself is heading this entire engagement along with Raman, and we would be very, very happy to talk to you and understand your journey of the OT and cybersecurity on top of OT. Thank you so much, and keep watching.
Thank you.
And we'll be back soon. Thank you.
Thanks.